This interview is made possible through the generosity of the Phil and Jennifer Satre Family Charitable Fund through the Community Foundation of Northern Nevada.
My name is Patty Bernard, and I'm a member of the Nevada Women's History Project. Today is Thursday, March 21st, 2019, and we are in Reno, Nevada. Today we are interviewing Evelyn Mount, a longtime community activist in Reno, Nevada. I know that you grew up in Arkansas. Can you talk a little bit about your parents and your family and where you grew up?
I was born in Lundale, Arkansas, and I was raised in Tallulah, Louisiana, and that's where I went to school at. But however, my parents would always send me back to Arkansas to go to summer school, and I would go to winter school in Tallulah, Louisiana. And it was a good thing. I had a good family, and the only thing I resented that I had so far to walk to school. But it worked out real good because it was about 12 of us walking together.
About how far was school?
About a mile. Just one teacher in that school, and that was in the country. That wasn't uptown. That was our country teacher where we lived.
And this was in Arkansas?
No, this was on Mount Rose, Louisiana.
This was Mount Rose, Louisiana?
Yeah, that was our regular class. In Arkansas, in Little Rock, Arkansas, we would have to walk from Lundale to Little Rock to summer school, and it would take us about the same time.
Why did you go to different schools?
Oh, because my dad would want me to come and be with him for the summer, and my mother would want me to be there with her because the winter school was permanent. It was longer than the summer school.
So were they divorced?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that then. Mm-hmm. And your father's name was?
Carrie Longs.
And your mother's name was?
Mel Longs. One brother.
One brother.
And his name was Nathaniel Longs.
When you decided to move west, did you come with your father or your mother?
My mother.
And why did she decide to move west?
That I don't know, but when we got ready to go, she just said we're going to pack up and we'd be going in 2 weeks, and it took her 2 weeks to get us all ready, and we left then. But why I don't know.
Did she have a job in Los Angeles?
No, she never did live in Los Angeles. She lived in Vallejo.
In Vallejo.
Mm-hmm.
Did she work?
No, she didn't work because she had her and my sister to take care.
You had relatives there?
Just my stepfather and my mother and my sister and my auntie.
And did you then go to school in Vallejo?
No, I went to school at night there. I went there to take cosmetology and typing. And then when I got the second stage in cosmetology, they moved me to a regular school, and I had to go to school in the daytime at cosmetology then.
Then did you practice cosmetology in Vallejo?
I did for about 2 weeks, and after that, I just didn't practice it anymore.
And from Vallejo, you went where?
Richmond.
To Richmond?
And I stayed there a year. Then I left there and went to Los Angeles.
All of this time as a cosmetologist?
Mm-hmm.
In Vallejo, you also then, I believe, worked as a telephone operator?
Yes, I did.
And then when you went to Los Angeles, did you also do that some of the time?
Yes. Well, I worked, yeah.
Yes.
And from Los Angeles, you then worked at, I believe, Head Start?
Yes, I did.
And what happened at Head Start that you decided to come to Reno?
It was 8 of us. The president deleted that position in Vallejo. And we all was recommended here. They flew us here like one evening. We was interviewed, and they flew us back the same day. The next day they called and told 3 of us that we had the job. And that was at the airport. And because one is still up in Tahoe now, the other one has retired because she retired when I did. Other than that, we were just, working as operator.
So who flew you up? Was this people from the Head Start?
The people from the Head Start employees flew all of us up and flew us back.
I understand that you drove to Reno then after you went back to Los Angeles and got the job in Reno.
Yes, I did. I had been to Arkansas to my father's funeral, and I drove the truck from Arkansas to Los Angeles. And I was there a month, and we were sent here to be tested. And after we got approved, I drove from LA that evening. I started that evening. My kids and everybody was all upset, me driving by myself. I drove the truck from LA to Reno by myself. And I had to, every time I stopped, I had to call her and let her know I was doing all right. And the last call I called on her, I can remember, she said, get in there and go to sleep. But I fooled her though. I didn't go to sleep. I kept driving until I got to that hotel where I reserved the room for me, because 3 of us reserved a room at that hotel for it. But the next week, Dolores Simpson, I used to take care of her when she was a little girl out in the country. I didn't know she was here. Came up to the hotel and let me know who she was. So she took me up to her house. And that's the week that I started at the hotel being an operator. And I've been a telephone operator until I resigned from the airport.
How did you get into the distributing food in Reno, Evelyn?
My neighbor, Urine Davis, knew about me in LA at school. And she told me, she said, we could feed these needed people here in this building. And she and I started going by ourselves. So it came to us that no, we need to start somewhere else. So the people at the airport, you know, the girls that was working with me, would tell me, said, I got somebody over here that need food. And the 5 of us would go and buy food and make up their bags. And then when they learned that in my department, they learned what we was doing, they'd get together and make up bags. And now Urine would deliver them to the people. That's how we got started here. And afterward, my husband and I started organize this on Grove Street, and then we moved over here. And it's been going ever since. But we started right there at the airport, you know, get people that, you know, needed food and somebody needed. If Urine didn't deliver it, one of the other girls would. And I never did deliver because I had Tasha with me and I couldn't. And I had the truck. And sometimes it would be raining and Rain could put it in the back of her car and get delivered for me.
Why was this so important to you?
Because we was raised up. We could not eat unless we gave a report that our neighbors down the street, around the curve, around the bank, had food to eat. And everybody was satisfied. And then we could come home and eat, have our prayer, and sit at the table and eat. And he said, are you sure they had? And if they asked them the next day, did you all have anything to eat last night? If they said no, we were in trouble. But if they said yes, everybody was blessed. In Vallejo, and I didn't do in Vallejo, but in Los Angeles. And that was going on, you know, to help the kids at the school, because they started about taking the kids' clothes off that was wrinkled, taking them off. They put skirts around them, and they had to make them, iron them, make them look good. And then the 7th grade teacher came in one day on a Friday and asked if did we mind helping them to start getting food for the needed, hungry people. And I slapped my hand up, and they said, are you going to help? I said, yeah. And after that, we've been doing it ever since. And every year, every holiday, they would bring certain types of food for the kids in that school. And it got so big until we'd have sometimes 80 and 90 kids with the schools in school, with the kids out of school. And then that's where it started. And when I came here, I never did stop. I was living with Dolores Lucas and I still didn't stop it, because Dolores would help me and Urine would help me. And then I just started advertising it.
Do you remember your first real food drive in Reno?
Yes, I do.
Tell me about it.
The first November, we had 24 bags. The very first drive, it was 24 bags. And Urine Davis delivered those bags to the families. And the next one for Christmas, it was almost double because the people that was on the other side of the airport that was working in the carnival, and they would try to outdo us. And it was about 120. And they had people on that side would deliver, and people on both sides would deliver for me. And that's the way it got started. And when I moved here, it's been going ever since. Because even when I was on Grove Street, the manager there would let us use the refrigerator that would put the turkeys in. And when we moved here, just got going good.
How did you reach the rest of the community to engage in helping you?
Through advertising some way. The very first time we got out, I don't know who notified Channel 2. Channel 2 came out here and was questioning me, and they took pictures of what was going on. And after that, Channel 4 and then Channel 8 started taking, coming out and taking information. But I did not call them, someone else called them. And after that, we've been using them ever since then.
Did you have trouble with so much food being given to you for storage?
Yes, a lot of food was outdated, and we couldn't give that to the people. We had to take it to the dumping. And after that, we would always have people to sign in. They come in and sign in, and they give how many's in their families and the ages in their family. And we'd know how to fix the bags, and we'd tell them what bag here and this bag is yours. But they always could, regardless of what side it was, they could always get chicken and turkeys.
A lot of food started coming to you, and the community then was quite excited about the fact that you were donating food to all of the needy families. But what did you do with all of the excess food? How did you store it?
We didn't have excess. We never had excess because when we was making the bags to take it out, people that didn't come and pick a bag, sometimes people would just walk up and they pick out and pick what they want. We never had excess until about 2 years after we had this set up out here.
And how did you store it? What problems did you have in storing all of this?
I had one freezer, and all you could see in the garage, all the way around the garage, is shelves built. All the way around, from one part of the door all the way around to the other part of the door. It is shelves made out there for that. And we had certain places to put certain items, the peas, corn, and mixed vegetables, and everything had a certain place to go. And when they had to make the bags up, the people would always bag by. That bag would go down the table, and that person would read up on the shelf, get what they're going to put in and put it in there until they get to the last person that would pick out, would take it, shut it up, and put it side away for the turkeys.
Did you have a lot of volunteers help you?
Oh, yes. All the time. I'd have volunteers all the time. I had so many volunteers until one time we had to have the police to come out and keep, to keep things quiet.
You started originally with Thanksgiving, but it went to Christmas and Easter. Did it also occur all year long?
Yes. All the year long, once a month. All the year long. Because we had people, and still have people here that was in need. And I had about 20 people that would come in and help him make bags. And there'd be bags, and we had freezers stored there for the turkeys. And then one while, Second Save had a truck on the outside for us to put the extra turkeys in that we didn't have room for down here. And when the parents or whoever wanted a turkey, all I had to do is call them, they'd come in and pick it up, and they'd let them in to get it. Then when they got me with 4 or 5 freezers, then it got worse. And then when I got a built-in freezer by the major Cashel, Bob Cashel, he was the mayor then of Reno. He had that freezer that's out there now. He had that one built. And that's what we had all of the store. And the year round, we had it so that if anybody needed, All we had to do is go out there and get them. And we got the other 5 by people donating them. And we never was nothing outdone. But the only thing we'd have trouble with, people bringing outdated food from their cabinet. And we had to get rid of it. And we had to go on the line and just, do that terrible. And that hated me because I hate to give away something I know somebody needs. And then we'd have to go and buy more. But we never complained about having to buy more because people started sending in cash money and come in and bring. And sometimes when they come in and bring cash money, we tell them to go do the shopping. They would do the shopping and bring the food in. Mm-hmm.
We've talked a lot about your philanthropy, but there's a really important person that we haven't talked about, and that is your husband. Mm-hmm. When did you meet your husband? What was his name?
His name was...
And how did he help you out?
His name was Leon Mount. And the boys and girls that I went to school with in Tallulah, Louisiana, knew him. That's my husband up there on the wall. See him on the top there? That's him. And we were married almost 25 years. Almost 25. And when we was on Grove Street, we decided instead of just having just a little, we'd go and make, about 5 or 6 for this building over here, 5 or 6 over there. Him and the manager of the building would go and deliver them out. And so afterward, we just kept going. And when we moved over here, it was more places, was more faith, and we had more space. And that's when we just came legalized over here. And that's why I got started, and it's been going ever since, before he passed away.
And so he was a real help?
Yes, because he'd do a lot of the delivering, and he would do, and a lot of times that he would go and go around and ask people if they needed, food, if they needed toys for the kids and things. And he would come back and get it, him and Reverend Butler. And he'd just do it, but he got sick and he passed away. And I just kept it going. And I can't do it no more.
I know that there was a building renamed after you.
Valley Road,
How did that make you feel?
I was afraid. I was afraid because I had never had anything like that to happen with me before. And I thought, people would just, I didn't know. But I absolutely, I went and I was a member of that, and I'm still a member of that unit. And sometimes I go there for exercise, and sometimes I go to European for exercise. But it was a friend that was working, Reverend Butler, Reverend Butler and Reverend Webb. Those 2, I believe, did that, but however, to be sure, I am not sure who brought that up to them to name that building after me.
That must make you feel pretty good, though.
Now it does. Then it made me feel, I was afraid then. I really was. I was afraid then. And my husband said, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. But I feel all right now.
What motivates you? What keeps you going?
Thinking about people in need. Thinking about people in need, and that's what got me in this. And my health is the reason why I have to cut down and just every once in a while do somebody. I think that I can do with my Social Security. But it's just people in need. We was raised to look out for your friend before you look at yourself. We was raised that way.
Did you have anyone that you thought was a model for you, that was a role model?
My grandmother and great-grandmother and my great-grandfather. Those 3 was a model for me.
And how did they influence you?
By making me help them and showing me how they was doing it out in the country on the farm. And when we moved to Lula uptown, well, my mother's sister would help because my grandmother had moved back to Arkansas because they had their home there. And when they got there, they sent word to my aunt Mayala to tell her, when you go down there, tell her to go with you. And they didn't say make her do it, they said tell her to go with you. And Aunt Mayala would tell me, said, yeah, Alice said you got to go with me. And I would. And they would be walking around taking stuff to different people.
So even in those early days, your great-grandparents were looking out for
other
people in
That's
the
right.
community.
That's right. And then my auntie was sewing clothes for them. They would take flour sacks and wash them and bleach them out and make them white and make clothes for people. And they would sew and make clothes for people and take it around for them.
If I were to ask you, what have you learned from your failures and successes?
I learned that if you know someone that need help or in need, you don't bother them. You go to them and say, here it is. This is for you. And if you know that they're afraid, and my mom said, don't make them feel bad. So you ease up to them and find out if they have it, don't have it, find out what they need, and you go get it and bring it to them.
So it's very important for them to have their own self-worth.
That's right. It's very important. And a lot of times when they would cook, because my mother used to like to cook a lot, they would cook, and she would send food different around to different places, and we never knew nobody that, refused it. Never knew nobody that refused it. And they kept that in all four of our hearts, to feed other people with clothes, money, and food, and time.
And it's important then, if they are afraid to ask you.
If they're afraid to ask you, you can see it on their face. You can see when a person is ashamed and afraid to ask you for help. And you go to me and I tell them, I said, okay now, let's not look like that. Let's not be like that. I said, let's be honest. And that's the way I get it out of them. A lot of times, people would come in that line out there crying. A lot of times, people would come up to the door crying and said, oh, I was told that you could help. And I cut it off right then. Don't cry. Do you need food or do you need clothes? And if they said both, I said, okay, come on in. When you get your food, there's the clothes out there. If they got to the place, they would lay the clothes all the way out until we got another place to spread them out. And the kids wouldn't have to ask anything. They'd pick up their bag, they'd go around and pick out what they wanted on the 3 or 4 tables that we'd have set out.
You were always passing out food on the days that we had Thanksgiving or Christmas. When did you and your family celebrate?
The next day. And sometimes I'd tell them, I said, you better do this. They better say, oh, Mama, we're going to do it. But it would be after. We never celebrate on the day. And right now, as old as I am, these kids will come out on the day after and say, Grandmama, Grandmama, and I'll be glad. I'm so glad when they get here in a bunch now. It make me feel so good. But we don't celebrate no days. And not even, they celebrate one of my birthdays, I think it was a day after my birthday, up at a casino somewhere. And I was shocked at my kids. I was really shocked at them. But they never forget it, though. Never forget it.
And how did your children help you in all of these years?
Any way that they could until they started getting to the place where they wanted to be the boss. When they got to the place they wanted to be the boss, then I told them, you can't help no more. But they always would help. Always would help.
How would you like to be remembered?
Nothing. No special way. Because God got me in his problem. No special way. Because my kids and God, I'm here. What I'm doing now, I'm doing for every one of my kids under me what I was doing for them when they was babies. And when God put that in my, I stopped even balling on them. And I said, Lord Jesus, you're good to me. And I think about every last one of them, even my grandchildren. I was there sometimes. We went up first. I said, Lord Jesus, forgive me for thinking like this. Thank you, because when they was like this, I was doing. So now I'm like this, they are doing. Don't bawl them, praise them, and thank God for them. And that's just where I am. And where I am now, I wish I could beat all of them. I do. I wish I could beat all of them, but I can't outrun them, so I don't try to beat them. But I'm so proud that God got in this station right now, that he got me in. With all of my young kids, I'm in a 5th generation, under me. They're not over me, they're under me. And I'm still able is to do some of the things that I was doing with them when they was born. Most of them I was there watching them be born. And look at me now. And I complain about can't hardly see good, but I'm thanking God for being able to see as well as I do, because I believe he's going to give me my sight back. That's just the way I believe I have. And I might be wrong, but that's all the belief I have. And all of my grandkids, great-great-great-grandkids, they're helping me at my age were the things I used to do them when they was born. And that's a blessing. That is a blessing.
Evelyn, you've had many honors in your life, and I noticed that this one from the city of Reno recognized you for your significant contributions to the biggest little city. I believe you got this with honor with Mayor Bob Cashel.
Mm-hmm. He was all, and he's not the mayor anymore, but anytime I call on him, he's always there. Anytime I call on Reverend Butler, he's always there. And I don't have no problem. But it is but I feel as if that all of these certificates should go to the people that are bringing in the food. I'm not bringing it in. Only thing I'm doing is giving it out, sucking it out. But the people that are donated food, that's what I feel they should get the credit, But they don't do it, that's all right with them. And when it got out that something was needed, people even in Sacramento would bring truckload of food down here, and it was very good. But however way that they got it, I give Channel 2, 4, and 8 a very good job. They had done a very good job. And people would tell me, well, it was said on Channel 8 you needed such and such a thing. And I said, well, just bring what they said we needed. And that's the way it would go.
You also had a short life on the radio, I believe.
Well, the only thing I can tell you about that is that we had a supervisor over us, and we had to go by whatever we were set up to do that thing. And if we went the other way, we'd have to go back and find out what way we were supposed to go. But we had someone that guided us on that gospel DJ, and it was always good.
And what did you do specifically? Did you play the
gospel song?
The gospel song? Did you talk about those?
Yeah, and sometimes they called in and said, Evelyn, I want you to say, do this and do that, and then donate certain song to certain people and to certain groups, and sometimes I'd have to do that. But a lot of times I would have to just go straight on the way that we would have it lined up. But when somebody called in and said, donate, I'd like you to donate such and such a thing to such and such a thing, and that's when I'd have to do it.
Do you have some favorite gospel songs?
Mm-hmm. I have a lot of them.
What are some of your favorites?
The presence of the Lord is here, the Holy Ghost, and I'm going to walk with Jesus. Lord, don't turn your back on me. And oh yes, I'm waiting on you. I got them all wrote down. And my kids going to get those for me before I leave them alone. Lord, please walk with me. Don't leave me, Lord, but walk with me. If I fall, Lord, pick me up and still walk with me. Because you are strong. You're able to do it all. And I'm not going to step back, but Father, I'm going to try to step forward. And then got another one that I go, let's tap, because the Lord is on this side. Let's tap. I can play all of that, tell you. Then I said, oh my God, that's why I play my gospel all day long. And if I don't play my gospel, I play the preaching of the God all day long. Those two channels, that's the one I watch. Okay.
So is church important to you?
Oh, yes.
And what church do you go to?
Pilgrim Rest Baptist Church on Montello.
And how long have you gone to that?
44 years.
Oh, so you're a senior.
The oldest senior there. I'm the oldest. My prayer partner and I are the two oldest one in our church. We're the two oldest one there, and I have no desire to go nowhere else. My kids was raised up in there.
I see the poster of Martin Luther King and President Obama. Why do you have that poster up there? Why is that so important to you?
It's more important because it keeps me in memory of what going on and what should be going on, period, with people with the right understanding how to get and serve people. The thing to bring forward is to give God the credit. Serve God. Sincere from your heart and serve your people. If you do that, everything else will automatically come. Everything else, giving God the honor, the glory, and the praises. And that's the first thing that anybody should do. Everybody should do. Every man, woman, boy, and girl should do. Give God the first credit, and he will fulfill the others to you. He will guide you to it. The singers from Nevada, those, I don't know why, but everybody always, every time I turn around, somebody's sending some kind of certificate.
Giving you all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for your interview. It's just been a real pleasure and an honor. You are an institution in Reno.
I thank you, but what I like, and I've been saying this every time that we started, even my husband and I would say this together, oh, why don't you thank the people that's bringing it? Because the only thing we do is just let them come here and get it. But however, I thank them for, thinking enough and feeling that they don't mind helping those who are in need. So they bring out all in and we pass it out to them. And I thank God for it. But I do think that they should get the, all of these certificates and all of that.